अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। संसारदावानललीढलोकत्राणाय कारुण्यघनाघनत्वं प्राप्तस्य कल्याणगुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम्। साक्षाद्धरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रैः उक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव सद्भिः किन्तु प्रभोर्यः प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरुः श्रीचरणारविन्दम्। यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्याप्रसादान्न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायन्स्तु वंस्तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरोः श्रीचरणारविन्दम्। Namasarvebhyo. Welcome to this session. We are now ending the Bhagavad-Gita. In the next 3 sessions, we will be concluding our understanding, our study of the Bhagavad-Gita. In the last session, we covered up to the 55th shloka. So today we are continuing from the 56th shloka onwards. Before we get into the details, I want to do a bit of reflection on something that happened a few days ago when the IPL ended and the winning party, a winning team, held a celebration in their home stadium, and a huge number of people turned up to see the members of the winning team. In particular, they wanted to see one person named Virat Kohli, who is a celebrity in our country. So in their eagerness to see him and his team members, a huge number of people forgot about their own safety. And in the process, eventually we know what happened. Some 11 people were killed. Many others were injured too. And among the people who were killed, there were also small children. And these people are not some soldiers in a war or something. They're just people like you and me, right? So if you reflect a little bit on this incident, we realize that we want happiness, no doubt. Happiness is what we all seek, and we can sometimes go out of our way to seek happiness. We forget the risks to our life. And one aspect, very important aspect of seeking happiness in this world is that often we need to compete with others for happiness. It's some kind of a limited sum game or a zero sum game, where if I become happy, then someone else has to sacrifice their happiness, because there is a limited amount of resource available, the resource which I'm seeking to gain my happiness. Like in this context, the resource was the space in the stadium. So everybody wants to be in the stadium, but the stadium cannot hold that many people, or at least the entrance to the stadium cannot accommodate so many people at the same point of time. So there is limited space. Everybody wants that space at the same time. And so if one person gets it, somebody else is denied that space. And with this competition, some people even lose their lives. And there is ultimately misery. The eagerness for happiness is so high that it concludes in a very bad kind of misery. So the nature of happiness in this world, like in the 5th chapter, Bhagavad-gita says, Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkha yonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. The nature of happiness in this world, which comes from the contact of the senses with the sense objects, is such that eventually it can lead to misery, or it does lead to misery in some form. Of course, if we take it in moderation with caution, careful indulgence, the misery can be controlled to something that's very tolerable. But like you see in this kind of an incident, when there is euphoria, there's excitement driving us to that particular kind of happiness, then we lose all control and we end up in extreme misery. Now, the Bhagavad Gita makes us aware not only that sensual pleasure leads to misery. If it made us aware only of that thing, then that would be, what's the point in just telling us there is suffering? The real purpose of Bhagavad Gita is not to just show that, but to tell us that real happiness exists. And for that happiness, we don't have to compete with anybody. In fact, Everybody can get the happiness together, and the more the people are who together go towards that happiness, everyone's happiness increases. That is the nature of that kind of happiness. That is real happiness. And where is that available? We don't have to go to a stadium. We don't have to go anywhere for it. It's right inside us. It's right within us. We need to learn how to look inside us. So if we learn how to look within, then we can discover that happiness. And one person discovering the happiness does not deny the happiness to anybody else. There is no competition there. There is cooperation. We can share with each other the experiences of that happiness which we find looking inside, inspire others. It's just like one candle can light a million other candles. In the same way, this process of getting happiness within can actually be so infectious that millions of people, if it is properly transmitted, can also experience that happiness. That is Bhagavad Gita. That is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. And what is the process of looking within? The process of looking within is the process known as yoga. Yoga means connecting with that entity within. So who is the entity within? That is ourself. Ourself, and within us there is Bhagavan, the supreme being, the universal being. In simple words, God. Okay, so God or the universal being is inside all of us, each one of us. That will be told, and it's told in many different shlokas in Gita. And today also we will see a shloka which says that. So Sri Bhagavan, then ourself, which is the Jivatma, and then Prakriti, material energy. There's constant interaction between them. And in the course of these interactions, if the interactions are directed only towards Prakriti, like in the example of the stadium, where people are running towards that Prakriti to seek out that happiness madly, and it only led to samsara vasana or material existence, which is compared to a forest fire, right? In that particular instance. But if we turn it inside, then it leads to mukta avastha or natural existence. And this is the natural state of freedom that all of us are actually have, but we don't experience at this moment. And that happens by turning to Sri Bhagavan and his bhakti. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter, we saw a review of all the previous chapters, beginning with the early concept of karma yoga. Up till the 55th shloka, a good portion of it was focusing on concepts connected to karma yoga. And then how that transforms when somebody is successful in doing karma yoga, they develop jnana, inner jnana. Karma yoga is intended to take someone towards that knowledge, that pure knowledge which resides within ourselves. In Vedanta philosophy, the Atma is knowledge. Atma is not the possessor of knowledge, or the self, the Jivatma, that is each one of us, is not the owner of knowledge, or is not someone who has knowledge, but who is knowledge. Not Jnanavan Atma, but Jnanam Eva Atma, means the Atma and Jnanam are the same in Vedantic philosophy. In other schools of Indian thought, like Nyaya, for example, the Atma and Jnana are not the same. Jnana is one of the gunas of the Atma, is one of the qualities or attributes of the Atma, Jnanavan Atma. So that's a fine difference, it doesn't matter. But whatever it is, by doing yoga, there is what is called as Chitta Shuddhi. And through Chitta Shuddhi, one experiences Jnana, pure knowledge within oneself. And then one becomes eligible for performing Jnana Yoga. By doing Jnana Yoga, one takes a deep dive into one's real self, one's nature of oneself, and one realizes that supreme being within oneself. And at that point, Sri Bhagavan says, we saw the shloka in the last class, Brahma Bhutah Prasannatma, na shochati, na kankshati, samasarveshu bhuteshu, madbhaktim labhate param. So that stage where somebody realizes their pure self is called Brahma Bhutah, means one realizes the Brahma nature of oneself. And such a person experiences genuine happiness within oneself, the same kind of happiness that we just spoke about. And that happiness, in that state of happiness, one doesn't lament for something which one loses, or one doesn't hanker for something which one doesn't have, right? This kind of a thing is normal. Normally, if I lose something, then I would at least feel some misery. If I lose something very precious, I would feel a lot of misery. But in this stage of Brahma Bhutatvam, when there is endless amount of happiness actually being experienced from within, then even if one loses something which might be considered valuable, one may not lament, or one does not lament. One sees it in perspective. That after all, it is material. It has to be parted with one day or the other. So one is able to see that with a calm perception without getting disturbed. And similarly, one doesn't hanker for something that's not there. One is content, completely content with whatever is present, and learns how to live, exist without hankering and adding on to what one already has. And in this state, Samaha Sarveshu Bhuteshu sees all living beings with an equal vision, impartially, and then that person is ready to obtain that supreme bhakti, param shuddha bhakti. So bhakti is the final stage of yoga. Only in bhakti one experiences one's most exalted form of happiness. Anything before bhakti, even if it is very pure happiness, is not as exalted. Realizing the pure self merely in the state of perfect jnana, even that is not the best form of happiness. So Bhagavad-gita takes us one step beyond and says there is something called bhakti. In bhakti, one connects with Bhagavan in a loving relationship. You see, even in this world, we see how among all the different types of existence we can have in this world, for example, we can exist as a very rich personality, right? We can have a lot of money, wealth, etc. That's possible. But even for a rich person, real happiness comes when they have a very good relationship with the people around them, their own family members, their employees, or their superiors, their elders, or the society in general, right? If, let's say, somebody is extremely rich, powerful, famous, etc., but everybody hates them, nobody likes them, nobody thinks of them. We know some examples like that, right? So what kind of happiness would they have? They would still have some happiness because they have power, they have money, etc., but they can't really relish that happiness which comes from genuine love, right? So love and a loving relationship is the best form of happiness. So we aspire for that. And so in the example that I gave today too, people, they were attracted to, let's say, a personality, a celebrity like Virat Kohli. It could be some other celebrity too. So in that attraction, what are they looking for? They're looking for an expression of love. See, happiness comes when we express love to others and the other person accepts that love and in turn reciprocates with their love. Okay. But even expressing the love to somebody, showing someone love itself gives a lot of happiness, even if the other person does not reciprocate or is not able to reciprocate. Okay, so celebrities, for example, get that kind of love where they may not be able to reciprocate with each individual who shows them love. They experience a lot of fans, millions of fans around them, sending them messages or clapping for them in a theater or whatever, but they cannot go to each one of them and say, thank you, I like you too. They cannot say that. It's not practically possible, all right? But just merely expressing the love to that celebrity makes people happy, and that's why they do it. Why do they do it otherwise? They know the celebrity cannot reciprocate to them individually, but still they do it because they express that love. They show the appreciation and they say that, okay, I like you. I like what you're doing, right? So here, I'm just drawing an analogy from what we see in this material world from our first-hand experience to what Bhagavad Gita says, that there is something called pure love, and that is with the best personality. Okay, just like the celebrities we see around us, why do we show affection to them? Because we see something good in them. We see great talent in them. We see humility in them. We see great knowledge in them, right? We see some good qualities in them. But Gita points out or makes us aware that there is a personality who is perfect in all these qualities, who is perfect in their knowledge, who is perfect in strength, who is perfect in reputation, his most reputed personality, who is infinite, and who is also most loving in nature, who is not just a dictator because of their power. The most powerful person is also the most humble person. He's very humble, thinks of himself as a servant of other living beings, does not think of himself as the boss of other living beings. Right? So, such a personality, therefore, should be the object, logically speaking, because after all, attraction towards a celebrity comes because of their good qualities. Now, if you have an entity who's got the best qualities, naturally, they should be the object of the best affection possible. And that is bhakti. Bhakti is when we bring that personality into our life. and show our love to that personality by following the principles that that personality wants us to follow, living by the standards, the values, in the same way in which that person lives, we try to live. And that is called bhakti. So he says once one receives jnana, then one becomes also ready, because at that point of time, the only next thing left is to get that bhakti. And therefore, mag bhaktim labate param. So then we also saw this shloka in the last class. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. So with bhakti, what happens? One gets to know Sri Bhagavan factually as he is. Only with bhakti it's possible. With jnana it's not possible. Merely knowledge cannot give that. Why? Because knowledge, jnana that we are referring to, knowledge about the self, experience of the self, is actually a function of sattva guna. We have spoken about the three gunas, right? Sattva, rajas, tamas. So sattva guna, when it is in its exalted state, when rajas and tamas are extremely low, almost negligible, when sattva is very, very predominant in somebody, they experience that happiness of that pure self within themselves, freedom from anxiety, calmness of mind, etc. But even sattva guna is only one of the gunas, it's still material in nature. Sattva guna is not spiritual. Sattva guna is actually material in nature. So the influence of sattva guna also is a bondage, is also a limiting factor. It comes in the way of that pure love. So unless one becomes nirguna, means even free from sattva guna, it's only then one becomes free from that state of existence known as samsara. And one comes out of the jail. You see, the samsara is actually considered equivalent to a prison house. So even in a prison, somebody can be a high-class prisoner, a VIP prisoner who is treated with a lot of respect and who's not given the punishment that other prisoners are given, who's given a luxury room with air conditioning and this and that, okay, and can do all their normal activities. The only thing they cannot do is go out of the prison. So being in sattva guna in a very high state is also like that. It is nothing better than that. But coming out of the prison and experiencing the world in a free manner is what is real existence. And that is where bhakti comes in. In bhakti, only through bhakti one achieves that state. And in that state, one knows Bhagavan factually. He says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah. One gets to know me exactly as I am, who I am, how much I am, only when one has bhakti. Otherwise, one cannot know. And this has been repeated earlier too in the Gita. For example, in the 11th chapter, Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya aham evam vidhorjuna jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. So after saying this, what happens next? So in the next 8 shlokas that we are going to go through today, we will see how Sri Bhagavan speaks about bhakti, and he actually touches upon a particular form of bhakti, which is not the best form of bhakti, but it is still bhakti. It is bhakti mixed with what is called as karma. Karma is our normal occupational duties and responsibilities and all the other activities we do. So, karma mishra bhakti. So, we are going to look at karma mishra bhakti in the next 8 shlokas, and we will discuss it and then come back to uttama bhakti, the best form of bhakti. So 56th shloka of the 18th chapter. Sarvakarmanyapi sada kurvano madvyapashrayah matprasadadavapnoti shashvatam padam avyayam. So he says sarvakarmanyapi, all activities, sada kurvanaha, engaged in them all the time. Sarva karmani includes what are called as nitya naimittika karmani. So in our Indian knowledge system, there is a concept of nitya karma, means duties which we are meant to do every single day. Okay, for example, like we know the varnashrama system of brahmanas duties, doing yajna, doing swadhyaya, patana, teaching others, studying themselves, um, sometimes conducting yajna, the agnihotra yajna for grihasthas. Similarly, doing some yajna for somebody else. A brahmana has got different duties. Similarly, kshatriya have their different daily duties. Vaishyas have, shudras also have. So doing your daily duties, then naimittika karma like shraddha. Shraddha is a naimittika karma, upanayana samskara, different types of activities which we do, which are not done every day, but whenever there is a nimitta, when there is a purpose or a reason for doing it. So naimittika karma. Then there are other types of karma which are not part of nitya naimittika karma, but activities which we do for our personal recreation, like we may go out somewhere with our family. Okay, in today's example, we see a lot of people going to resorts or spending time with the family in the evening, going for a walk. So different kinds of activities. Now here, Sri Bhagavan says, when somebody does all activities, okay, there is no cessation of activity. All activities are done, but doing them, mad vyapashrayaha. Mad vyapashrayaha. Vyapashraya means what? Vyapashraya means V plus apa plus ashrayaha. Ashrayaha means shelter that we know. Apa means apakrishto api. Apakrishtaya api apashrayaha. Apakrishtata api ashrayaha. V means Vishishtataya. Visishtataya, apakrishtaya, ashraya. That is, apakrishtaha means even the lowest of the activities, like, engaging in sensual pleasure. Okay. Sensual pleasure is also a normal human activity. So that is the lowest among all kinds of possible activities, pursuing sensual pleasure. Higher than that is abstaining from sensual pleasure in different forms of, sacrifice and worship and whatever, study, occupation. Even in a normal occupation, we don't engage in sensual pleasure. We do our work, right? And we use other time for sensual pleasure. So lowest among activities, even that. Now, if somebody is able to do all of that in the consciousness of being a servant of Bhagavan, I am a part of Bhagavan, I want to do it in a way that he will like it. So this is called Madhyapashrayaha in Ashraya. So one who is always in the refuge of Bhagavan. Okay, bhakti means being in the refuge of Bhagavan. Little later I'll talk about what is meant by being in Bhagavan's refuge. So what happens to such a person? He says, Mat prasadad avapnoti shashvatam padam avyayam. By my loving kindness, prasadaha. Prasadaha means kindness, affection. By my loving kindness, one attains that state of existence which is eternal and imperishable. Shashvatam means eternal. Avyayam means which doesn't perish, which doesn't degrade, which doesn't, you can say, exhaust or diminish. So by doing all our activities in a state of consciousness in which we have taken refuge of Bhagavan, we attain that state of eternal existence. And this kind of bhakti is called karma mishra bhakti, because one identifies in the state of existence, one identifies with oneself as a servant of Bhagavan and also simultaneously as the performer of this occupation, or as the husband of somebody, or the wife of somebody, or the daughter of somebody. So this material identity and the activities connected to that identity are in the consciousness. At the same time, there's also the consciousness of oneself as a servant or as a part and somebody devoted to Bhagavan. And together they are called karma mishra bhakti. And so this is a dominant form of bhakti that people do. So then what happens? Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha buddhi yogam upashritya matchitta satatam bhava. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha buddhi yogam upashritya matchitta satatam bhava. So he says chetasa means with the mind, chetas, mind, chetasa with the mind, sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha. So with your mind, in your mind, offer all the activities to me. Offer all the activities. So do the activities as things or as engagements for my pleasure. Think of them not as something for your personal gain, but as something that will please me. And do them in a way that will please me. Do them in a manner considering what I will like and what I may not like. Keep that in mind and do all the activities. That's what is meant by saying Mayi Sanyasya. Mat Paraha. Mat means Ahameva Paraha or Parama Purushartha. Yasya Saha. Mat Paraha. Mat Paraha is a person who thinks that I, Bhagavan, is their ultimate purpose in life. There is no higher purpose than that. a person who does that. So in general, this word matparaha or tatparaha is used. Tatparaha means what? Somebody who is devoted to some particular thing. That means something, that thing. So somebody, for example, may be very devoted to a particular sport or a particular subject in their academics. So day and night they think about the subject, they read about the subject, they are working out exercises on that subject. So they are also called nerds, right? So a nerd is an example of a tatpara who just is devoted to one thing all the time. They're doing that. They're completely absorbed. They forget about their food, their clothes, their appearance. It doesn't matter. They just take a minimal interest in all that just to maintain themselves, and they just go on behind that thing. So he says, now become matparaha, become like that with connection to me, become completely absorbed in me in this way. Buddhi yoga upashritya. So this is called Buddhi yoga or bhakti yoga. The term Buddhi yoga is used in Bhagavad-gita in two places or two ways. It's used multiple times. First, it comes in the context of karma yoga in the second chapter. And then it also comes now, it comes in the second, third, somewhere in those chapters. And then it also comes now. Buddhi yoga is repeated multiple times. And here in this context, it refers to bhakti yoga because it's in the context of bhakti he is speaking this. So buddhi yoga upashritya, taking refuge in bhakti yoga, remain with your consciousness. Mat chittaha satatam bhava. Mat chittaha means one whose consciousness is always in me. Remain with your consciousness always in me. So what happens if we do that? Mat chitta sarva durgani mat prasadat tarishyasi atha chet tvam ahankarat na shoshyasi vinangshyasi. मच्चित्तः सर्वदुर्गाणि मत्प्रसादात् तरिष्यसि अथ चेत्त्वम् अहङ्कारात् न श्रोष्यसि विनक्ष्यसि. So he says, Machchittaha, once you are in that state of consciousness fully absorbed in me, Sarva Durgani Mat Prasadat Tarishyasi. Sarva Durgam. Durgam means Dukkhena Gantum Shakyaha Durgaha. That which is crossed over with great difficulty. The word Durga, like in the case of Mother Durga, or in Sanskrit, the word Durga refers to a fort. Okay, we say Durg. Durg means a fort in Hindi. In Sanskrit, Durga. So a fort is something that you get into with great difficulty. That's why it's called a fort, right? Fortification, we say in English. It's a fort because you cannot easily enter into it. There are big gates and there's a big moat outside. You can't just go inside a fort like you walk into a mall or you walk into a house. You have to really, there's a soldier standing with weapons outside. You have to go through all of that and then you enter the fort. Similarly, Mother Durga, she's the deity of Maya Shakti. Okay, Maya, elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, in the 7th chapter, he says that Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva ye prapadyante Maya metam tarantite. This Maya, Daivihi Esha Gunamai, is a divine energy. This is Bahiranga Shakti. And this is in the purview of Mother Durga. That's why she is called Durga. Because you cannot go beyond her. She's so powerful that nobody can go behind her except those who take refuge in Bhagwan. So he says, Mameva ye prapadyante Maya metam tarantite. So she is his Shakti. And through his grace, one can cross over that Maya, that Durga. So here, Sarva Durgani means all obstacles, all difficulties in the path of bhakti or in your life. Okay, bhakti and life become one thing. So all difficulties in life, mat prasada tarishyasi, you'll be able to overcome them. For example, you see the case of Draupadi. Okay, at least in two instances we know how Draupadi, whose consciousness was always in Krishna, right? She was always absorbed in Krishna. She was a bhakta of Krishna. And all the time she's thinking about him. And then the occasion comes when she is insulted by Dushasana and she finds no one to help her. Krishna puts her in a situation where she has to think only of him now. She cannot, she first turns to her husband, then she turns to the elders. She uses all her logic, but nothing works. And then she calls to him. And the moment she calls him, immediately he responds. Now that's the first instance. The second instance is when they are in that forest and Duryodhana sends Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni is supposed to be the embodiment of anger, right? If you even do a small, a hair's width of violation of some rule, then he will blow. He'll explode and he'll curse you. And once he curses you, then nobody knows what will happen. So nobody wants to get cursed by him. Everybody is scared of him. And so he turns up at the camp of the Pandavas and Draupadi. And he's come at a time because Duryodhana has asked him to do that. When they have finished their food and the vessel with which they create that food can no longer create food on that day, as per the rule. It can only create food until the Draupadi has eaten or something. There's a rule like that, right? Now, that rule is now, so she has finished her food, and so nothing can be generated because it's already time, nobody will come, but he turns up there with some 10,000 disciples. And say he says, he gets welcomed. Obviously, he has to be welcomed. And then he says, okay, I'll go to the river and come, and I'll come back and have my food after I take my bath and do my puja. And Draupadi, like, she starts panicking. Now, what do we do? Now, if it was just a little before, then I could have created any amount of food because Akshaya Patra is very powerful. I can do anything. But now it won't work. At least for today, it will not work. It will work tomorrow again. So now what do I do? She doesn't know what to do. She talks to her husbands and they also don't have a solution. So she calls to Krishna. She immediately, absorbs her mind in Krishna. Already she is thinking about him, but now she completely absorbs herself in Krishna and calls out to him and says, please help me resolve this. I don't know what to do. So then she opens her eyes and she sees him coming, Krishna coming from a distance. He comes running. He is coming from the forest. They are living in a forest. So among the trees, she sees somebody running and coming, and it's Krishna. And he comes running to her. He says, Draupadi, I heard you calling me, but I don't know what you want from me, but I'm feeling very hungry. Please feed me something. I'm very hungry. So she says, look, Krishna, I have not called you to feed you, but I want you to help me get food for. She wants to say all that, but she's not able to say because Krishna is demanding from her, please give me food. So she immediately tells him, Krishna, there's nothing left. Already whatever was made was cooked and I can't produce anything more. She just says that and he says, don't waste my time. I'm very hungry. Please feed me. Go to your kitchen. You'll see that something is there. Bring it. She says, no, Krishna, nothing is there. Okay, you bring that vessel. So she brings that vessel. She doesn't know what to do. She wants to tell him, look, I've called you for something else, but he's not willing to listen. So she brings that vessel and she gives it to him. And he looks at the vessel, it's fully empty, there's nothing there, it has been washed also. And then he says, okay, look, in the outside, in the edge here, I see a small piece of vegetable. There's a small vegetable here. So there is something still left. So let me eat that. So he takes that and puts it into his mouth. Now, in that place in the Mahabharata, if you read the original Mahabharata, how Vyasdevji describes it, he says that, even with a small thing, that supreme universal being is satisfied. And so now, effectively, Draupadi has satisfied his hunger. And when that supreme being's hunger is satisfied, everybody in the world, their hunger also is satisfied. So Krishna eats that, and then he calls, I think, Sahadeva, among the five Pandavas, one of the brothers, Sahadeva, he calls him and he says, Sahadeva, now go to the river and please bring them. Tell them that the food is ready for them. Bring them here, we'll feed them. So Draupadi is watching all this and thinking, what's going on? Where is the food? There's no food, and why is Krishna saying this? But she doesn't argue with him. She knows that he is Bhagavan and he knows what he is saying. So she just watches, and Sahadeva goes, and they're all thinking, what will happen now if those people come? How will Bhagavan arrange this? So as they're watching, nobody comes back. Sahadeva also, for some time, doesn't come back. So what happens when Sahadeva goes there? He goes to the river and he sees no one there. Durvasa, the disciples, there are 10,000 of them. Nobody is there. What's going on? So he goes and finds out what happened. So what actually had happened was, the moment Krishna put that vegetable in his mouth and swallowed it, these people who are taking bath in the river, one of the disciples of Durvasa feels that he's full, completely full. His stomach is so full that it's like filled to the throat and it's going to come out. So he feels very awkward. He says, how is this? I've not eaten food. I'm feeling so heavy. I'm feeling as if I'm completely full. So he looks at the next, his Guru Bhai, who's also taking a bath next to him. He says, look, I'm feeling very full. I don't know why I'm feeling that way. He says, I'm also feeling that way. I'm also feeling completely full. And then they turn to the others and they find that everybody is feeling like that. Everybody is feeling full, and they realize that now they don't have any space, even one small little space to have any more food. So they go to their guru and tell him, Gurudev, this is the situation. All of us are very full. We can't eat anything more. What do we do? How do we go back and tell them? We have told them to prepare lunch. How do we go there now? So Durvasa realizes that something has happened and he also feels in the same way. So he tells them, something has happened. I think Bhagavan is doing something. I don't know what is going on, but let's not go back. Because if we go back and don't eat the food that they have prepared for us, it'll be an aparat, it'll be an offense. Because we have told them that we are coming. And I don't want to commit an offense against them. So Durvasa recollects an earlier incident when he had committed an offense against a bhakta, Ambarisha. That's a story, beautiful story of how he commits an offense against Ambarish. He tries to kill Ambarish. Ambarish is a bhakta who is in the complete refuge of Bhagavan. And he faces the wrath of Bhagavan's Sudarshan Chakra. The Sudarshan Chakra chases him all over the universe. And ultimately, he has to beg pardon from Ambarish. So at this point of time, when Durvasa hears this from his disciples that they're all full, he remembers that incident. And he tells them, let's just get away from here. Let's not go back there. I don't know what to do if we go back. So let's just go away from here. And the moment he says that, they all disperse. Immediately they disperse because they're afraid that now anybody will come and invite them and then they won't be able to say no. So they disperse and they run in all directions. So by the time Sahadeva reaches there, they've all gone. The place is empty. And so Sahadeva asks some washermen who are nearby washing clothes. He says, did you see these people, great sage, and then all the disciples and so on? They said, yes, yes. They were all here just now and they were taking bath. And for some reason, suddenly we saw them talking to each other and suddenly running away from here. And they've all run in different directions. We don't know why they did that. So these people tell Sahadeva this, and Sahadeva is completely puzzled. He has no idea what's happened because he came there to invite them and they were supposed to come back. They also said they will come back. And now the way they are describing, they ran away in all directions. What's going on? I mean, he just can't make sense of it. So Sahadeva goes back and he tells. And when he goes back, Krishna is there and they're all waiting. Krishna asks him, what happened? Where are they? You've come back alone. Where are they? Sahadeva says, Prabhu, I could not find them. I searched for them everywhere, but they are not there, and I am being told that they ran away in all directions. So then Krishna smiles and reveals to them what he has done. So this is a small example of how he says, with your consciousness absorbed in me, you will cross over all difficulties. And this is actually not only from the story of Draupadi. We hear so many narrations of this kind of thing in the Indian knowledge system, in the texts of the Puranas, the Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, Ramayana, all over it's there. But it's not only in these texts. After all, people can dismiss them as mythological narrations or Hindu mythology. But in real life, so many people who are in the path of bhakti will be able to narrate stories like this in their own life, saying that, when I did this, when I stopped thinking of him, this problem completely resolved. Recently, I mean, just came to my mind also narrate this one for whatever, whatever impact it has on us. We actually, here, my friend and I, there's one petrol bunk in Jamshedpur in the area of Mango. Mango is an area in Jamshedpur which is across the river from where we are. In Mango, there's a petrol bunk. As soon as we enter Mango, on the left side, we see it. And one of my friends knows the owner of that petrol bunk. He is a bhakta. He's a Vaishnava. He's a devotee of Krishna. And so one of my friends, who's also a bhakta, he knows him. So, and that petrol bunk owner, he's got a couple of cars. And so once my friend told me, let's take one of the cars and go somewhere. So we went to him and we went to his house. That person received us in his house and he was speaking to us. So he told us this incident in his life. He said, this place actually is very difficult to work in because it's full of gundas. Okay. Now in XLRI, we don't see that because we are an educational institution and gundas don't come here. Normally they don't. So outside, in some places, after all, anything can happen. So there are some places gundas, and gundas go about doing what is called as extortion. They go to business people and then they try to extort money from them. And when they go to a petrol bunk, one of the common things they do is they don't pay for the petrol. They go with a big vehicle like a Innova or some bigger SUV than that. They fill the petrol or the diesel in the car, and then they won't pay. When the attendant comes and asks for money, they'll just show a gun. They'll raise the gun, and that's all. The attendant has to keep quiet, and the vehicle just drives away. There's no argument there. So he says this used to happen regularly. I was making losses because of this. Gundas keep coming, they fill whatever they want, and the moment we ask for money, they start doing this. So I didn't know what to do. I was completely helpless. He says, then I got this idea, I pray to Lord Narasimha. Narasimha is one of the forms of Vishnu where he comes out of a pillar and he protects his Bhakta Prahalad. Right? So we know that form, we know that story. So he says, I took this picture of Narasimha and I prayed to that. There's a picture of Ugra Narasimha, where Narasimha is sitting there and pulling out the intestines of Hiranyakashipu, and Prahlad is standing and praying to him. So he says, I put this picture on the place where the petrol is served. I put this picture there and I prayed to that Narasimha that please protect me, please help me with this. And he says, from that day, this has completely stopped. From that day, I have not seen this at all again. So he narrated this, and this was very good to hear, I mean, from a person with live experience. So in the same way, you will hear many such narratives from people with actual experience. So it's not part of just Hindu mythology that bhakti gives people protection. Bhakti helps people to overcome difficulties, get clarity in life. If not, dealing with gundas, most of us don't deal with gundas, but we face so many challenges in our life too, right? We sometimes are puzzled about what to do. Should we do this or should we do that? And either way, there seems to be a problem. If I do X, there'll be some problem. If I do Y, there'll be some other problem. So what do I do now? It looks like I have to get, into some kind of trouble. So praying, turning inwards, looking at Bhagavan and says, please guide me how I should handle this. The answer comes. So even that guidance is actually a protection, is actually helping us to cross over all difficulty. That's the power of genuine bhakti. So he says, with your consciousness absorbed in me, matchittaha sarva durgani mat prasadat tarishyasi. But he says, atha chet tvam ahankarat na shroshyasi vinangshyasi. But out of your own ahankara, out of your own false ego, you do not listen to this. You completely neglect me, then you will perish. You will perish. So that's the other side of it, where we say, I don't give a damn. I don't care. I will take care of it. I'm smart enough. Okay, that's fine. We do have intelligence. Ultimately, intelligence comes from him, but we may not acknowledge it. So we can still get by in this world. But how long can we do that? Right? After all, the Bhagavad Gita makes us aware that we are part of that larger being. There's a universal system. There is a set of laws working here. There are the way things work. If we learn those laws properly and act by them, we do our best. It's just like a mother. The way in which Sri Bhagavan is saying this, it's not like I'm a dictator and you should surrender to me. It's not like that. It is like a mother telling a child that, my child, please listen to me. Don't do this. You're watching TV all the time. You're playing with your iPad all the time. Don't do this. Listen to what I'm saying. Study now. Study well. If you study well, you will have a good future tomorrow. So mother says this. Listen to me. If you don't listen to me, you will perish. So this is exactly in the same tone. The tone in which Bhagavan says this to Arjuna, he sees him like a small child. And he says this, if you don't listen to me, then you will perish. And then he says, Yad ahankaram ashritya na yotsye iti manyase mityaisha vyavasayaste prakritistvam niyokshyati. He says, Yad ahankaram ashritya. Now taking refuge of your false ego. If you don't take refuge of me, then you will take refuge of your false ego. And you'll say, Na yotsye, I will not fight. Okay, because that's how Bhagavad Gita begins now. Now Bhagavad Gita is concluding in the 18th chapter, but the beginning of Bhagavad Gita in the first chapter is what? Na yotsye, I will not fight. I don't want to do this. I want to go outside and become a sannyasi. Okay, so he's now addressing that same question. He's going back to that question and saying that, look, if you say this out of ahankara, then mithya eshaha vyavasayaha. This decision of yours, this vyavasaya, this decision, this commitment that you're doing is mithya, it is false, or it's illusory. This resolve is illusory in nature because prakritihi tvam niyokshyati. Prakritihi means what? Our inherent swabhav, our inherent nature. All of us are born with the inherent swabhav. We have discussed that many times before, right? So that inherent nature is always pushing us in this direction or the other. It's only when we look inwards, do yoga, connect with ourselves, connect with Bhagwan, that we are able to overcome that swabhav. And that overcoming also doesn't happen easily because that swabhav is like a fan. If you switch off a fan, it doesn't stop immediately. It takes some time. There's inertia, right? It takes some time for that fan to come to zero. Similarly, even after we start doing yoga, our prakriti will continue to influence us. Our swabhav will continue to influence us. And therefore, he says, now, if you don't listen to me, you're not even doing yoga, then prakriti will drive you. Prakriti tvam niyokshati. It will take you, bind you, and control you. And then what happens? Swabhavajena kaunteya nibhaddhasvena karmana karthunechasi unmohat karishyasya vashopi tat. So because of your swabhava, O Kaunteya, because you are bound by your swabhava and by your activities, even if you say that you don't want to do it, for example, now you are saying you don't want to kill Bhishma, you don't want to kill Drona, you don't want to fight against them, they are your gurus. You are saying that and you want to go away from that. Even if you do that, you will not be successful in not doing it. At some later date, you will end up doing it because your prakriti will make you do it. You are a Kshatriya. Your nature as a Kshatriya will come to the fore again after some time. Now you have got emotional. In that state of emotion, you are saying this and running away from here. But after that emotion subsides, again your prakriti will come back. You will remember all the reasons why you came here. You came here because the Kauravas have taken away your kingdom. They have been they've completely cheated you. They're not giving back what they're supposed to give back to you. So many good reasons, and you yourself gave the logic earlier. Now all that reasoning will come back to you. You will remember that your swabhav and your anger will come back, and then you will come back and kill them. So if you say that you will not do it also, it is not going to work. Let me point out to you that your prakriti will control you. If you don't want to listen to me, if you don't want to come to my refuge, your prakriti will control you. So just like it applies for Arjuna, it applies to us too. We are all born with our respective swabhav, and our swabhav is driving us to do different kinds of things. It is by taking shelter of yoga that we actually overcome that swabhav which can degrade us and uplift ourselves. So then he concludes with three more shlokas. He says, Ishvarah sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantrarudhani mayaya. So he says, look, it's not only your swabhav, but there is that universal being. He's referring to himself in third person. Okay, in the Bhagavad-gita, you will find this alternating between third person and first person. Sometimes he refers to himself in first person as myself or I, and sometimes he refers to himself in third person, like in this shloka. So he says, the Supreme Ishvara, the Supreme Being, Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. He is situated in the hearts of all the living beings, Hriddeshe, in the region of the heart. Sarva Bhutanam Tishtati, he stands there. He is always there in the heart of all living beings. He says, Brahmayanna, Sarva Bhutani Brahmayanna, Yantrarudhani Mayaya, using his Maya, Durga, Mother Durga, or Maya Shakti, as his agent. Using that Maya as an agent, what does he do? He makes all the living beings wander. Brahmayanna means he makes them wander in material existence. Wander means what? Simple. Wander means go from one birth to another birth, as we are doing. We've gone through numerous births before, numerous identities before, not only as human beings, but as other types of beings as well. And in the future too, if we continue in the same way, we will have many more births to go. So Brahmayan, we are wandering here and there. This is what is meant by wandering. Samsara Brahmanam. This is called Samsara Brahmanam. Yantrarudhani, Yantrarudham. Yantrarudham in Sanskrit refers to a puppet, a wooden doll, which is controlled by something. Okay, like a string, like a puppet is controlled with strings. So like a puppet controlled by strings, Maya is controlling us. And Maya is acting on the behalf of Bhagavan. So Maya is driving us from this place to that place, birth after birth after birth, in accordance with our karma, our desires and our karma. It says, and therefore, tameva sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim yatha param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashvatam. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashvatam. It says tameva sharanam gaccha. Therefore, because of all these reasons, please take his refuge. Please go to his sharanagati. Sarva bhavena means in all respects, not just partially, not just for one particular activity. It's not like, okay, when there is trouble, I will call him. Okay, it's like calling the helpline. Normally, we don't call the helpline. We call the helpline or we call the police or the ambulance only when there is a requirement, right? So it's like, okay, I know God will help me. I believe there is God. I'm not an atheist. But why should I think about God all the time? There's no need. I'll call him when I require the help. Like Draupadi called him. She called him when she required help. Otherwise, she didn't call him. So I will call him whenever I want him. But he says, no, that's not the point. You will not be able to call me when you really require me if you're not thinking about me all the time. So only when your consciousness is properly absorbed in me, you're living in me, then when there is really trouble, you will immediately turn to me, just like a child, a small baby. Okay, let's say a 1-year-old baby or a 2-year-old baby. The baby knows its mother the most, more than anything else, it knows its mother because all the time the mother is attending to that baby. The mother is feeding the baby her own milk. The mother is putting the baby to sleep. The mother, takes care of changing the clothes of the baby, giving the baby a bath, everything. So all the time the baby's consciousness is in the mother, thinking of the mother. And the moment the baby doesn't see the mother for a few minutes, even 1 minute, the baby doesn't see the mother, it grows restless. It has to start looking. For some time, it may not notice the mother is not there, but moment it sees that the mother is not around, it start looking. And if it doesn't find it in a couple of, in a few moments, then the baby will start crying, right? And similarly, let's say there is a big sound, okay, something explodes nearby. Let's say Diwali cracker explodes. Then the child will immediately jump and turn to its mother and start crying. It holds the mother tightly, right? So this comes only because the baby is always thinking of the mother. So this is the consciousness. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena, in all respects. Seek refuge only in him. And tat prasadat, by that loving kindness from that personality, you will obtain that supremely happy state of existence. Sthanam param, he says shashwatam, shantim, param shantim sthanam shashwatam. There are 4 adjectives. Param shantim sthanam shashwatam, that supremely happy state of existence which is eternal, that you will be able to attain. Then he says, he concludes the whole discourse by saying, iti te jnanamakyatam guhyat guhyataram maya vimrishyaitat asheshena yathechasi tatha kuru. Iti te jnanamakyatam guhyat guhyataram maya vimrishyaitat asheshena yathechasi tatha kuru. He says iti in this way means he is now summarizing the 18 chapters. This is all this time. I have spoken nearly 700 shlokas until now, since the beginning. I have given you knowledge which guhyat guhyataram, which is more secretive than what is considered secretive. I've gone beyond what can be called as secretive. Means why is it secretive? Because I don't tell this to everybody. All these things I have told you last so much time, these people are all waiting to fight. But I have stopped the fight and I'm now talking to you. Okay, I could have just told you to shut up and fight, but I didn't do that. I gave you all this knowledge and I've gone well beyond what I give to other people. I don't freely give this knowledge to anyone. I've given you. And in that knowledge, I've given you so many fine nuances. I've told you about bhakti, which is actually not a very publicly appealing topic. It is only for a few people. So I've told you about bhakti, I've told you about jnana, I've told you about karma, I've told you about all the nuances about myself. I've shown you my universal form. Guhyat guhyataram, more confidential than the confidential, more secret than secret. Okay, that kind of knowledge I have given you. He says vimrishya, vimarshanam. Vimarshanam means reflection, introspection, or contemplation. So only when you really contemplate on this, you will understand it. So he says vimrishya etat, after contemplating on it, reflecting on it. He says asheshena, means comprehensively, rigorously. Asheshena means without a remainder. Literally, that's what it means. Without a remainder, please reflect on whatever I have said. And then I'm not going to say anything more. I'm not going to force you. Yatha ichhasi tatha kuru. Whatever you want to do, you do. Now I am willing to accept what you say. I have said all that I can say. Now I can't make you lift your bow and arrow and fight. That is up to you. I have told you whatever I can tell you. Yatha ichhasi tatha kuru. Do whatever you want to do. So Shri Bhagavan concludes this whole line of discussion with this statement, Yatha ichhasi tatha kuru. So actually this phrase, Yatha ichhasi tatha kuru, has got a very deep meaning. Why would Shri Bhagavan want to say that? In the beginning, Arjuna, says to Krishna that I have become your disciple, please instruct me. He says, Karpanya dosha. This is in second chapter. Before Bhagavan begins speaking in the 10th or 9th shloka of the 8th or 9th or 10th shloka, somewhere in that region, he says, Karpanya dosho pahatas svabhavaha. Prichhami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha. Yet shreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadi mam tvam prapannam. He says, I am overcome by completely, miserly weakness. Means Karpanya dosha means my mind is not able to think in the way it's supposed to think. And I'm lost, completely lost. Now I'm your disciple. I've become your shishya. I'm no longer your friend. All this time you and I are cousins, we are best friends, but now I'm no longer your friend. I have become your disciple. Please instruct me. Yatha, he says, Shishyasteham shadi. Shadi means instruct me. Shadi mam. Tvam prapannam. I have taken your refuge, he says. Tvam prapannam. But even after saying that, if Arjuna really meant what he said there, then Bhagavad Gita would not be 700 shlokas long. Why? Because a disciple who goes to the Guru and says, Gurudev, I am your disciple, please tell me what I should do and I will do whatever you say. Like Arjuna says here, if a disciple is a genuine disciple, then the Guru will simply say that, okay, do this, read this book and come back. Or take that cow for pasturing and bring her back in the evening. And the disciple will do that. So whatever instruction the Guru gives, the disciple simply follows that. He understands why the Guru is asking him to do that. He knows the benefit in doing that. And he does it. He doesn't argue with the Guru. He doesn't ask him unnecessary questions. At the most, he may ask him clarification on how to do it, or some clarification connected to doing it properly. But he will not ask unrelated questions. What about this? What about that? He won't ask all kinds of unnecessary questions which only delay the work. But you see Arjuna doing that. Arjuna, Krishna wants him to fight, and even before Arjuna says, I am your disciple, Krishna already has told him, get up and fight. Don't, show this weakness. This is not befitting you. You are a Kshatriya. Already Krishna has told that. And now Arjuna is saying, I'm your disciple, then Krishna doesn't have to say anything more because already he has said, get up and fight. All right. If you did not remember what I told you earlier, again Krishna says in the second chapter itself, he says, Yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. Little later, a few shlokas later, he gives a reason why Arjuna should get up and fight. So multiple times in the Gita, Krishna is made to say, get up and fight, get up and fight. You come here for fighting. You're supposed to be a Kshatriya. This is your job. Many, many times he tells him. No, Arjuna is not convinced. Instead, you'll see at the beginning of every chapter, he's asking a new question which has no connection to the Kurukshetra war. He has come there for fighting the war, but the question he asks is no connection either to the war or to what he said earlier. Earlier, he asked one question, later on, he's asking some other question, no connection to the earlier question at all. So he takes Krishna on a kind of a wild goose chase. We say in English, a wild goose chase. Here and there, he's asking questions again and again to Krishna. And Krishna, though being aware of this happening, he very patiently responds to him. Very, very patiently responds and tolerates that. He tolerates whichever direction Arjuna is taking him. At the end of it, he now says that, okay, now I can't tell anything more. Whatever I could have said to you, I have said, and these people are all waiting. We should give them a decision whether we are going to fight or not. Now you decide what you should do. Okay, now what will happen after this, we will see in the next class. We will stop with this for today's class. But just to tell you in summary, now even after saying this, Sri Bhagavan has an afterthought. In the 64th shloka, he is going to say that, look, I have told you something that's more confidential than the confidential, but I have not told you what the most confidential thing is. There is something even higher than all the things I have told you. And I'm going to tell you that. So that he will say in the 64th shloka. Then in the 65th and 66th shlokas, he will reveal that knowledge. So in the next class, when we meet, I will talk those shlokas and we will do 7 or 8 more shlokas in the next class. Thank you. And I would like to hear your questions, your reflections, your experiences. Please share them with me and we will take it forward. I've not muted anyone today, so you can straight away unmute yourself and start speaking. Anyone? Our session has reached the questioning hour. Now you can ask me any question you like. You don't have to worry about what I said last about Arjuna asking all kinds of questions. I too am open to all kinds of questions like Krishna was. There is Sarthak. He has not come today. Yeah, he's there.
Sir, I have an observation, not a question.
Yes, Bhaskar.
Bhaskar, sir, I've been part of many of your classes, right? And I think the central theme that comes right in every class, somewhere I have heard or Shri Bhagavan says that whatever you do, you dedicate that to me, right? Don't think you're doing for yourself. You think that you're doing it for the God or for Bhagavan. I think that's a central theme or a central statement that I've seen in most of your classes. And so
Yeah.
that's just an observation that's coming through.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for pointing it out. That theme pervades the Bhagavad-Gita. It comes repeatedly. From the second chapter onwards, Bhagavan alludes to it many times, and sometimes he says it directly too. Because bhakti is the conclusion of Gita. We haven't yet actually concluded today, and we'll see in the next session how he talks about bhakti, Uttama bhakti.
Right, sir.
Pranam, sir. Sir, my
Yeah,
question,
Pranam.
yes, sir. My question is, Draupadi Mata was twice saved by Lord Krishna.
Yeah,
During the Vastraharan episode as well as Rishi Durvasha episode, and we all know the reason. Like any intelligent person would know the reason, because her consciousness was unto Krishna, and Krishna saved her, and she was into bhakti and Krishna saved her. So it is very easy to understand, but very difficult to practice, putting consciousness in Krishna. So I've been also struggling a lot. So my question is in general that one of the ways of putting our minds to Krishna is listening to Bhagavad-Gita, listening to the pastimes of God. So this is my question. My observation is very difficult, and how to make it easy.
yeah. Very good question, actually. It's a very good question, a very relevant question. And it's very simple to actually understand how to do that. See, the most basic quality that Sri Bhagavan expects from us in bhakti is the quality known as nishkapatata. Nishkapatta. What is meant by nishkapatta? It's the absence of kapatta or falsity. Falsity means what? Falsity means vachasyekam manasyekam karmanyekam mahatmanam vachasyanyat manasyanyat karmanyanyat duratmanam. So a person who, in the mind thinks something, speaks something else, and after speaking something, does something else. So there is a difference between what the person actually thinks in their mind and what they say to others and what they actually do after saying something. So this is called kapatta, the lack of integrity within the person, the lack of genuineness. For example, I may say to somebody that, oh, you're so, your lecture was so interesting. I was completely lost. I will certainly attend all your future lectures. Somebody says that, but they don't mean it. They only want to appear like they're very cultured and very positive. So they want to say that to that person in front of the others. But in their heart, they are thinking this lecture was completely useless. It was boring. I'm definitely not going to attend any lecture, and nor will they actually attend any other lecture. So after saying that to that person, they also don't attend any further lecture of that person. Suppose somebody does that, then that's an example of kapatta. Similarly, let's say somebody has a website, okay, their own profile on the website, and they write about themselves using exaggerations. Okay, for example, they say that they've given so many talks in so many places, and so many people have attended and appreciated, and they won awards. Nobody can verify that, right? It's not easy to verify, so they just say it. Kaun pakadega mere ko? Nobody knows. So someone else who is reading it then will get the impression or may get the impression that this guy is a great personality. So a false projection of oneself. That is called kapatta. So very simple, no? You can say that tomorrow onwards or today onwards, now onwards, I will remove all kapatta in my life. That is the starting point of bhakti. I will not be kapati in any manner. I look at my own web profile. I will look at every activity I do. When I speak to somebody, before I speak something, I will check or I will reflect and see whether what I say, I really mean what I say or I don't mean what I say. After I say something, am I really going to keep it up or I don't keep it up? If I'm not keeping it up, will I go and apologize to that person? Right? So this kind of introspection, being genuine, genuineness, and becoming genuine is the first step in bhakti. If one can do that, then it becomes very easy to turn towards Krishna inside. And then as one does this, one turns to Krishna inside by reading Bhagavad-gita, reading Bhagavatam, contemplating on the meanings. Reading, not just mechanically reading and saying, okay, today's reading is over. Mechanical reading has very little use. Reading with contemplation, contemplate on the meanings and think, why does he say that? Why does it have to be this way? Why can't it be the other way? So just like we do when we read our academic papers, read Bhagavad Gita like you read your academic papers critically, reflect on it. What can I take from it? By doing that, we turn towards ourselves, we turn towards Bhagavan. That's the beginning of bhakti. And then automatically all the other elements of bhakti, like doing japa or doing kirtan or whatever, so many angas of bhakti, which I'm going to talk about in the coming classes, all those angas of bhakti will become very easy to do, beginning with removing kapatta from our life. Swapnil, is your question addressed?
Yes, sir. The question is addressed, sir, and I know a lot of sanskars and lot of environment also comes into the picture in knowing what one has to do and has to like walk the talk. It's very easy for me to give a lecture on ethics to the students and get a rating 5 out of 5. And also, it is very difficult to actually walk the talk. But I've understood it, sir. It will only happen through reflection and contemplation and in sangati. So I have got my answers, and I hope everybody also has got their answers. Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Sarthak, you have a question?
Pranam, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah. Can you be a little louder?
Uh, Hello, am I audible better?
Yeah, a little better. Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a follow-up question on the same. So, as you said, that step one is nish kapatta, and the examples that you had quoted were that of deliberate malevolence. That for some material gain, you are projecting a different face, whereas you have something else in your mind. But, sir, what I also find very common is that you know something that something is beneficial for you, but still you don't do it. So your buddhi accepts it, your intellect accepts it, but somehow your body and mind does not actually implement it. So it may be as simple as any good habit, as in basically staying healthy, doing some exercises, or something more crucial also, as instructed by your master that, okay, this is a simple practice that you should do, or this is something that you should follow. And your intellect accepts it, but you are not able to implement in your real life. So here again, there is a form of kapatta. So how
Uh,
can we cut this kapatta?
yeah, this is not actually called kapatta. Kapatta is about being duplicitous. Kapatta is duplicity, but this is not duplicity. It is actually weakness. It is a lack of resolve or dhriti. There's a word called dhriti, no? So when somebody has a good intention, they are not duplicitous, but they don't have the strength inside to be able to do it because of attachments. Okay, because of attachments to something or the other. For example, let's say that I have a resolve that I'll get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and have a bath or go for a walk outside or something. But I'm attached to my bed. I like the feeling of my bed after having slept for 7 hours in it. It feels so good to be there. I can't get up at 4 o'clock. I'll wait till 7 o'clock and only then I'll get up. So it's a lack of resolve or lack of willpower. And that is different from kapatta. It is different from kapatta. It's something that has to be overcome with more, inspiration. And inspiration comes from knowledge. Inspiration comes from knowing the benefits of doing the right thing by seeing other people, associating with people who are doing the same thing. When you see another human being doing the same thing, let's say you see another human being also getting up at 4 o'clock every day and they are looking good, they're looking fit, and they're doing well in their life, their nature is good, then you want to be like them, right? So then you feel, okay, I will also do it. Tomorrow onwards, I'll also try. So you go talk to them, ask them how they are doing it. And then the resolve comes, that power comes.
So, sir, apart from satsanga, what can be some other methods to develop this resolve? Because that is quite common. Knowing something which has to be done, but actually doing it, being able to
Yeah.
do it.
So instead of satsanga, if you don't have another person to associate with who is doing that, you read the Shastra, read accounts of people who are doing it. Through like in the Puranas, you come to know of so many sages who did that, the way their life changed, right? And so after reading that, you feel inspired. Actually, for something like getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you don't even need to read the Shastra because in today's world, so many people all over the world are doing it. Getting up early in the morning, so many celebrities are doing it and they are writing about it. We get so much in the social media on that thing, right? So even by reading those things, our resolve builds up. I should become like that. I should be fit. I should have a clean mind. I should have a calm, composed nature. So that way resolve comes. Resolve comes by hearing about it. Shravanam.
So, sir, just why this came up in my mind is because there are some themes which are very prominently recurring in all our Bhagavad Gita classes. And those are very simple things to be adopted in life.
Yeah,
However, actually implementing it is, if someone is able to do, then that would be a big achievement, as I would say.
yeah,
So, I was just wondering how to build that practical resolve because the
yeah,
intellect is accepting it, but the mind and body does not actually implement it.
yeah. Very true.
And then it feels like that, even though, as you said, it is not kapatta, but it feels like kapat, that I am not doing service to myself, to the Shastra, to the Guru. So that is why if there are, so one is satsanga, as you said, second is knowing more and reading about more to build that resolve. So
Absolutely.
these are two things.
I agree with you. I agree with you. It's not as easy as we say it. It requires us to determine. And it happens by contemplation on something. We hear it once, but it's not good enough. We hear it again. We see somebody doing it, somebody tells us. And one more thing that helps actually build resolve is the consequences of not doing it. For example, falling sick. Okay, so I have a resolve. Let's say I made a resolve that I'll eat very, very carefully. Okay, this happens to me sometimes. I make this resolve and it lasts for some time, and then I eventually end up eating something which I should not have eaten, like let's say some fried items like chips or something. And then the next day I get a cold. So then I have to put up with the cold for a few days until it goes away. And then I know that I got the cold only because I did not follow what I wanted to follow. The consequence of not following what you want to do, what you should have done, is something that helps you to build resolve. And in a future iteration, you will be less likely to do it. The gap between, two instances of violating that resolve will become longer and longer. So experience is the best teacher, actually, many times. It helps us to build our resolve towards good things. But I think self-talk is very important. Introspection, talking to ourselves, being quiet, looking at what we really want in life. What do I want in life? Where do I want to be? What kind of an experience do I want for myself? So this kind of self-talk, introspection, I think is very, very important in the process.
Yes. Yes. And so that also has to be kept in mind, where it is introspection alone and does not become overthinking. So
Yeah.
that also wisdom has to be developed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
I agree with you. Thank you. I agree with you.
So is there an element of grace as well in all of this?
If we turn to him, yes. The moment we turn to him and request him to guide us, it's not like he is going to come running to us like he came in front of Draupadi. That will never happen, right? But we find that actually the thoughts inside us change after some time. We get answers to questions which we did not, the answers which we did not have. We had the questions, but we didn't have the answers. When we turn to him and genuinely ask him with genuinity, then that grace comes. And the grace comes through these answers, the clarity, knowing that I did wrong, accepting it. Okay, when I say accepting, I don't mean I have to go out in the public and announce to everybody, okay, I admit I did wrong. That's not the point. The point is admitting to ourselves. Admitting to ourselves and knowing I did wrong, I should not do it again. That kind of a thing. That is grace, actually. That is grace.
So I think this is not an easy journey. I mean, you might fall multiple times and then you'll have to get up again. So the point is not to get disheartened.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree with you. You may fall many times, but if you look back on the journey, you realize that after falling many times, you have reached a point which was better than the starting point. So then you feel good about it. That gives you more strength to go forward, keep going forward. So it's a journey on which we fall many times, but each time somebody picks us up. If we are turning to him, then he picks us up. He gets us back on the right path, and then we are again after some time we realize that yes, I've made progress. What I was doing earlier, I'm not doing now. I'm much better now.
So just to summarize, one of the key enablers would be satsanga, as you said, company of the ones who inspire you, reading about it, and then turning towards God, and then keep trying again and again. So
absolutely, satsanga, and among the satsanga, the best satsanga is with one's own guru. If one has gone to a guru who is also a very genuine person, who is not duplicitous, not selfish, who is very pure at heart, then that person's association is the best association. It uplifts us.
but the guru is only telling to do something and you are not able to do that. So that becomes a little disheartening.
Yeah, true.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Puneet, you have something to say?
Sir, Jayashri ma'am have raised her hand much before me, so we should go first with her question.
No problem, Puneet. Please ask. I will ask at the end.
Okay,
No problem.
okay, sir.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. So I'll tell it at the end.
Okay, sir, I want to ask that we have learned that Prakriti and the sun is the one which drive us. And in today's class also, the Lord Krishna have told Arjuna that if you don't deny the war this time, the Prakriti will make you again fight for afterwards. So, shall we overcome the Prakriti or Sang as it is made by the Bhagwan only, the Maya is with the Bhagwan only, or we should go with the Prakriti?
Well, we cannot discard Prakriti overnight. What we can do is we can introspect and try to minimize the effect of Prakriti and maximize the effect of the Shastra on us. The Shastra helps us to come out of our Prakriti, the Prakriti which is degrading. If there is an aspect in our Prakriti which is good, which is uplifting us, a good habit which is part of us, then why should we discard it? We should not, right? So the negative aspects of our Prakriti which are actually degrading us, by listening to Shastra, we can slowly discard it, overcome it. And that's what we should do. And the path of bhakti, we find that help coming from Bhagavan in doing that, more than in any other path.
So, sir, how to identify that Prakriti is helping me or it is not good, because I'm born in one part of the world and you are another and third one is another. So we are getting the birth according to the and we live in the environment which is based on the luck only, I believe, by this way. So how to contemplate that which one is the right one for us, or is there any standardization to know that how I have to go over this Prakriti? Overcome this Prakriti or have to go with this Prakriti?
Well, if you look at the good qualities that the Shastra talks about, the Daivi Gunas, for example, when we studied the 16th chapter, we talked about the Daivi Gunas versus the Asuri Gunas, right? Now, the Daivi Gunas, if you look at them, if you recollect and go back to that file which I sent you, you'll see that there are so many qualities written there,
Yes, sir.
which are like the ideals for us.
Right.
They are the qualities which we would want to have
Right.
in order to go to Bhagavan. And why do we want to go to Bhagavan? Because we want to discover our real happiness inside. Okay, that's how we began today's session too. Now, our Prakriti right now, our Swabhav right now, may be having certain kinds of tendencies in it, certain kinds of vasanas, orientations, which are actually causing us only more misery. So this we can see only through reflection. Look back on what we have done so far, introspect on it. What did I do? For example, I lost my temper, or I had to tell some lies to somebody, or maybe I cheated somebody, whatever. Look back on all of that and see what happened. Why did I do that? Now, clearly, Bhagavad-gita doesn't allow or doesn't encourage us to do all those things. Why did I do those things? What made me do that? Introspect on it. How can I overcome that? Okay, make a resolve that I will not do it. So, regardless of which part of the world we are born in, which family we are born in, we cannot change that now, right? We are born in a particular family, we are born with parents. We had no control on that. At least consciously, we did not choose them. We are given that because of our past karma, we are given a set of parents. So let's be grateful for that. Let's be grateful for whichever parents we have got. God has blessed us with those parents, and let's now behave in a way that will make him happy with what we have got, right? So that is how we work with our Prakriti. Through our Prakriti, we try to elevate ourselves, remove the bad aspects of Prakriti, and try to nurture the good ones. There may be good qualities in us. For example, we might have a quality in us by which we are very kind to animals, let's say, or even kind to fellow workers. We have a quality of kindness. We see many human beings like that, very kind, very polite. So that's a good nature. That's already there. And that nature doesn't have to be now introduced into them. They already have it and they should cultivate that even more. Even where it is weak, they should make it stronger.
I got it, sir. Thank you.
Arunabha?
Sir, pranam, sir.
Pranam, pranam.
Sir, I have twofold questions, sir. The fact that we do prayers, I mean, we offer prayers in morning, evening. Can we say that that's a form of bhakti? Offering prayers to God, is it a form of bhakti?
Offering prayers to God is one of the different activities of bhakti, but the nature of the bhakti is understood by trying to understand the motivation for saying prayers. Why do you say prayers? What is the thinking which makes you say prayers?
Like, right now it's a habit for me. Initially, like, it started off from school time only, like do well in studies, do well in life, be a good person. These are the kind of thoughts that came in. That I prayed morning and evening, right? So that become a habit.
It's a
And I'm
habit, but then how do you justify the habit? Suppose I say, stop doing prayers from tomorrow onwards, enough. Then will you stop?
I mean, since you are my guru, that's a very heavy question for me. But
No, I'm not saying I will ask you, but let's say somebody advises you, don't do prayers anymore. There's no need.
no, that I won't, except for my guru and my parents. If someone says no, I won't adhere to that thing, because I feel it calms me down. It connects me with the Almighty. So how do I define bhakti then? Is prayer a form of bhakti, or how is it?
Yeah, definitely. So now you see what you said was it calms you down. It
Yeah,
gives you something, right? You're getting something in return by
yeah,
doing
yeah,
those
yeah,
prayers, right? That's what I was
yeah,
asking. What is the motivation which makes you do that? What is the outcome you're looking
yeah.
for by doing those
It gives me
prayers?
trust also. I mean, I know there is someone behind me. It gives me trust. In an hour of crisis, I can rely on something, that kind of a feeling that I have.
Yeah. So there is a power, or there is some entity
Right.
there which can be called as God or whatever. And that entity is now accessible through these prayers. By doing these prayers, I know that I can turn to that entity when I want. So that is the outcome you're looking for. That's the motivation which defines your activity of bhakti, isn't it?
So,
So yes, so this is bhakti, to say prayers and to approach somebody. Prayers help you to nurture that consciousness. You're nurturing that consciousness of some other entity which can help you, isn't it?
so, correct, sir.
It's similar. I mean, prayers, what we mean by prayers is some shlokas in Sanskrit or Bengali or whichever language. But if you see in real life what people do in this world, you will see people praying to each other, not with shlokas, but with words. They will go to somebody's office, the boss, the office of the supervisor or the boss or the ultimate authority, and then they'll say words which are like prayers. Right? They're also praying. They're pleading with that
So,
person and saying good things to that person. You are this, you are that. Right? Effectively, the
so,
same thing. It's not in the form of shlokas, but in the form of prose, in the form of spoken, spontaneous prose. Right?
so,
There also the same thing happens. They are trying to please that person. They're trying to take the refuge of that person. And they're trying to get the grace of that person.
so, sir, is there any ideal form of bhakti for us working? Right? I mean, we can't be 24/7 devoted to God. I mean, just doing japas and dhyana and all those stuff, because we have a family to take care of. We have a work to also to take. I think this question was asked previously as well, sir. But is there some ideal way or some bare minimum things? Just have this few dots, bullet points you cover, and that should be bare minimum you should do every day. Is there something like that, sir?
Well, I think we need to define for ourselves. There's nothing like bare minimum and so on. We can make a list according to our convenience. It's not predefined in the Shastra. I would say that if you ask me for a bare minimum, it is what I said to Swapnil's question, that the bare minimum is to be a nishkapat, to be genuine. Even if we don't do anything else, we don't chant shlokas or read Bhagavad-gita or anything else, we are not able to do. The first thing is be genuine, be nishkapat. That is the bare minimum, the hygiene factor. Without that, everything else is pretty much ineffective or not really effective. It only gets us into more trouble. But apart from that,
Okay.
bullet points about do this, touch your feet 3 times, do 3 pranayamas a day, that kind of a list is not there in bhakti. We have to prepare our own list of what I will do. So we will talk about the angas of bhakti in the coming classes. After I finish Bhagavad Gita, we'll start something more directly connected to bhakti. And there I'll talk about the different kinds of activities of bhakti with so many examples from the Puranas, from the Mahabharata, Ramayana, etc. And then we will talk about specific activities that you and I can do in our daily life. We'll go into that.
So thank you, sir. So one more question I have is that, I mean, when I discuss with my mother follows those channels, who said pray to this God, that God, this God, that God, like this. We have gods in Hindu mythology. So, I mean, when I visit her once, she might say, pray to Lord Krishna. Other times she would say, during Durga Puja, pray to Lord Durga. So the devotion stays as it is, but the object of devotion keeps on changing. So how good or bad, how do we define this? I mean, is it a good practice? Is it not a good practice? Is it a, what is this? What is this going on, sir?
Well, in Bhagavad Gita, it's very clear. There is only one Bhagavan who comes in different forms. And the way in which Bhagavan manifests himself in Bhagavad Gita is as Krishna. So if we take the refuge of Krishna, automatically all the other forms in which he manifests himself, we don't have to separately approach them. All the devas, they are all his amsha. All the devas are an amsha of Bhagavan, right? And some of them are he only. He comes in the form of that deva. So it's very simple for us. In the path of Bhagavad Gita, if we follow Bhagavad Gita, then we just take refuge of Krishna. The same Krishna who is speaking here to Arjuna, or the same Krishna who played in Vraja as the child of Vraja, right?
So
that's simple.
So thank you, sir.
We don't have to watch a lot of channels and this and that. Just take refuge in Krishna. That's enough.
That's enough. Thank you, sir.
So Arunabha, stay connected and keep attending. After Gita is over, we'll start something new and make sure you don't miss the classes there. Okay?
Sir, absolutely.
I'm going to take attendance for you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Any other? Jayashree, you wanted to say something quickly?
Yes. For Arunabha's question, I just had a real life example. Arunabha, when you, suppose your father's side relatives come to your house, okay, your father's sister, your father's chacha, or those people, how do you relate to them? You relate to them like father's, so and so. So it's exactly like that. We relate to all the gods in our Hindu Sanatana Dharma.
Yeah.
All the gods we relate, and they are all connected to Krishna. So that's how we look at them.
Wow, wonderful analogy, ma'am. Yeah.
I just got this analogy as you were speaking.
Yeah, so it's one single existence actually. They are not competitors of Krishna. They are part of Krishna. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to make one comment there. You said that in the towards the end of the this one session, that the talk that Arjuna was, despite saying that he has taken refuge in Krishna, he still goes on with some questions. So there I just wanted to add that Arjuna was put in that state, mental state, to ask questions by Krishna himself. And the conversations happened not because Arjuna got the questions out of his own free will, but because Krishna made him ask those questions. That's how I've heard other people say about it. And we get some reference to this in the Mahabharata itself, where in the Shanti Parva, where one day, after all the war and everything is settled and people are settled in their routine, Krishna and Arjuna will be strolling in the palace, and then Arjuna will ask Krishna, you in the Mahabharata, just before the war, you had told me a lot about our Sanatana Dharma. He uses some specific words which I don't remember now, but I don't remember anything of it. Whatever you told, I don't remember. Can you repeat that to me? So he asks Krishna this particular question, and then Krishna scolds him. He says, that can't be told just like that. You were put in, both of us were put in that yogastha state, and the conversation happened. But because you are my dear friend and you're dear to me, whatever the gist of the whole conversation, I will tell you. And then there is another set of shlokas which are there. For some reason it has not become popular, but this conversation is there. So that is kind of proof that Arjuna was put in that state to ask questions by Krishna himself.
Yes. Arjuna was put in the state to ask questions. It's not that he is not intelligent. In that particular context, he was put like that. Yes.
Yes.
Good. We will
And
stop
one
with
more
this.
point I wanted to add to Sarthak's question. It just occurred to me because I had that question for a long time, and I just wanted to share the way I addressed it was by feeding the desire. I mean, suppose say you have been asked to read a shastra, or suppose say you have been asked to read Mahabharata by your teacher or by your elderly person. Then you don't know what to do, how to read, how to start. One day you will read, then for months together you don't have time to open the book or go through the book. So what I started doing was feeding the desire to read. So I have done this thing with Valmiki Ramayanam, and a couple of times I failed. Like I started with the first page, then read a few shlokas, and then something happened and I couldn't proceed. Then for months together I couldn't read. But I kept going back again and again and again and again. So this time, I just completed reading the Ramayana from starting till end. I could do it without break. And this happened by feeding the desire to complete it, like the resolve that I should read all the shlokas non-stop, like every day a few shlokas. It could be 10, it could be 1, it could be 100 also. So by feeding that, I would say that by lighting that kind of diya, it is possible to go forward.
Right, ma'am. So if you are not actually able to do it, but at least think that I want to do it. So this is what I.
Yes, and keep constantly feeding your mind. I have to do that. I have to do that. Then the mind will provide solutions to do it. Some alternatives it will give. It will give suggestions. Okay, this is how I can do. This is how I can do. So that helps actually. So that's how I figured out and I could do it. So I thought I'll share that with you. Maybe it will help you also.
This is a very practical insight, ma'am. Thank you for sharing it, ma'am.
Yeah, welcome, Sarthak.
Thank you. Thank you all. We had a very good discussion today. We will now move forward and do the Antyamangalam. Please chant the Hare Krishna mantra with me. Okay, this is something that I showed last time. I'll come back to it in the next class. So we'll do this. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Gobrahmanebhyo Shubhamastu Nityam Lokas Samastas Sukhino Bhavantu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dhanyavadaha. Thank you for being, and come back again in the next Sunday's class. We have 2 more classes left to conclude Bhagavad-Gita.